In the bustling city of Lagos, where the lights never seemed to sleep and the streets hummed with the endless noise of life, there lived a young woman named Adise. She was beautiful, clever, and ambitious, but more than anything, she wanted wealth. Not just enough to live comfortably, but wealth that would make heads turn, people whisper, and society women bow in admiration. Adise longed for a life filled with luxury, expensive clothes, sparkling jewelry, and the freedom to do whatever she pleased. But life in Lagos was not kind to her. She sold small goods at the crowded markets during the day and worked at a roadside cafe in the evening. Her tiny apartment, shared with 3 other women, was cramped, hot, and noisy. Yet, despite the struggle, Adise's mind was always elsewhere, planning, scheming, dreaming of a way out. One day, while scrolling through her phone during a short break at work, she saw his picture, a man named Chukwuma. He was tall, sharply dressed, and exuded power. The kind of power money and influence could buy. He was married, with 2 children, and everyone in Lagos knew him. Chukwuma owned businesses across the city, had cars that gleamed like the sun, and a mansion so big that it looked like a palace from afar. Most women only dared dream of catching his attention. But Adise wasn't most women. She wanted him, and she wanted him badly. Days turned into nights as Adise plotted her plan. She asked around quietly, hoping to find someone who could make a wealthy man like Chukwuma notice her. Whispers led her to a remote village in a distant state, where a native doctor known for powerful charms and spells resided. Without hesitation, Adise took a bus for hours, through winding roads and dusty paths, determined to see him. The native doctor was an old man, thin and mysterious, with eyes that seemed to pierce through her very soul. He listened to her request without interrupting, then asked calmly, "Adise, are you ready to pay the price for what you desire? This is not ordinary. This path is dark, dangerous, and not everyone returns the same." "I am ready," she said, her voice firm, her heart pounding with excitement. "I want him. I will do whatever it takes." The old man studied her for a long time. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, he explained, "If you truly want this man, you must sleep in a coffin in the graveyard for 3 full days. When you emerge, make sure he sees you. Only then will your destiny change." Adise's stomach twisted, fear clawing at her heart, but she nodded. "I will do it, I am ready." The next night, under the pale light of the moon, she lay in the cold, wooden coffin buried in the quiet graveyard, the wind whispering through the trees like restless spirits. The first night was unbearable. The darkness pressed against her chest, the silence deafening. On the second night, fear began to seep deeper, making her doubt her choice. But on the third day, Adise emerged from the graveyard, shaking, pale, but resolute. She made herself seen. She walked through the busy streets of Lagos, dressed in clothes that seemed ordinary but carried a strange, magnetic charm she had never noticed before, and when Chukwuma saw her, something in him changed. He could not explain it. His heart raced, his mind refused to think clearly. The security officers who followed him, the drivers, the personal assistants all looked on in surprise as he abandoned protocol and rushed to speak to her. From that day, Chukwuma could not resist her. He showered Adise with gifts, attention, and all the luxuries she had ever dreamed of. She was now the society woman she had longed to be, living a life of wealth and influence. As for Chukwuma's family, they were pushed aside. His wife, Ifeanyi, and their children were sent away from the mansion. Adise now had everything she desired, her dream fulfilled, at least on the surface. But as the months passed, whispers of unrest grew louder. Ifeanyi, devastated and heartbroken, felt the world crumble around her. She had always believed in honesty and faith, and deep inside, she knew that something unnatural had brought Adise into her home. She turned to God, determined to fight the forces she did not fully understand. She locked herself in her small apartment, fasting and praying, declaring 5 days of complete devotion. No one could visit, and she would not leave until she had sought divine guidance. On the 3rd day of her fasting, something extraordinary happened. Adise, drunk with power and confidence, stepped out onto the busy street of Lagos in the middle of the afternoon. Her usual poise was gone, Her beautiful clothes were torn and askew. She screamed and shouted, confessing aloud to everyone passing by. The streets filled with curious onlookers, shocked at the scene, a woman dressed like a society lady, yet unraveling, revealing secrets no one could have imagined. Chukwuma, nearby, was stunned. His mind raced, panic rising in his chest. "Where is my wife?" he shouted, realizing in that moment the gravity of what had been happening. He could no longer see clearly, no longer control the chaos he had allowed to take place, and then, Adi's voice rose above the crowd, a chilling and unsteady whisper that carried like wind through the streets. "I did what I had to have him, but now I cannot hide anymore." Chukwuma's heart froze. People stared, some stepping back in fear, others in awe. The Lagos sun blazed down on the street, yet all the light seemed dim compared to the storm unfolding in the heart of the city. Ifeanyi, in her room, knelt and whispered a prayer, her tears falling freely. She did not know how the events would unfold, but she felt a strange power stirring. A change coming that she could not yet see. And as the crowd held its breath, Adi's trembling voice carried one final, haunting line into the chaos. "What I have done will destroy everything." The city held its silence, waiting. And somewhere in that silence, fate was already plotting its next move. The streets of Lagos were still buzzing from the chaos of that fateful afternoon. Passers-by whispered in disbelief, children stopped to stare, and street hawkers abandoned their stalls to witness the unfolding drama. Adiz, once a lady of grace and style, now stood in the middle of the street, her voice trembling, her clothes torn, and her secrets spilling like a torrent. Chukwuma, the wealthy businessman, ran through the crowd, his mind racing, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. His heart pounded like a drum. For the first time, he felt fear, confusion, and betrayal all at once. "Where is my wife?" he shouted again, his voice hoarse. People stepped aside as he pushed forward, eyes wide with panic. Upstairs, in her small, dimly lit apartment, Ifeanyi knelt in silent prayer, her body shaking but her faith unwavering. She had felt it the moment of truth had come. Her fasting, her prayers, her steadfast belief in divine justice had summoned the revelation that would unravel the lies, heal the pain, and restore balance. From the street, Adiz continued to shout, almost as if a spell had forced the truth from her lips. I did it. I used dark powers to make him mine. I cannot hide it anymore." The crowd gasped. Some crossed themselves, others murmured prayers, and a few fled, fearful of the supernatural energy that seemed to hang around the trembling woman. Chukwuma froze as his mind connected the pieces. The sudden wealth, Adiz's impossible charm, the way his household fell apart, all of it now made sense. Anger surged through him, but so did regret. Regret for letting his heart be swayed by power, greed, and illusion. Ifeanyi emerged from her apartment, her face pale but determined. She stepped onto the street, where the crowd parted instinctively. "Adiz," she called, her voice firm yet filled with sorrow. "Enough. You have caused pain and suffering with your choices. This ends today." Adiz's eyes flickered with fear and desperation. She looked at Ifeanyi, then at Chukwuma, and finally at the sea of people watching. For the first time, she felt powerless. I only wanted him. I only wanted the life I deserve," she cried, tears streaming down her face. Chukwuma, taking a deep breath, approached her cautiously. "Adiz," he said, his voice steady but filled with authority, "you have caused enough. You sought what was not yours to take. But God, He always reveals the truth, and today, the truth is clear." Adiz's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the street. People whispered and took a step back. Her power, her charm, her influence, it had all vanished in an instant. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. The sky above seemed to darken slightly, and a gentle breeze swept through the city street. Ifeanyi raised her hands, and her voice, though soft, carried a commanding presence. "Let justice prevail. Let hearts be healed, and let the wrong be made right." The crowd watched in awe as Chukwuma took Ifeanyi's hand in his. The warmth of their connection, the purity of their love, was palpable. Adise, lying on the ground, trembled as she realized that the power she had sought outside the natural world could not compete with the strength of truth, love, and faith. Days passed, and Lagos slowly returned to its rhythm, but the story of that shocking street incident spread like wildfire. Newspapers reported it, social media exploded, and everyone knew the tale of the ambitious lady who had tried to claim a man with supernatural means, only to be undone by her own choices. Chukwuma, humbled by the ordeal, returned to his mansion with Ifunanya. He apologized to his wife and children for the confusion and for allowing himself to be manipulated. "I should have seen it earlier," he said, tears in his eyes. "But I will never let anything come between us again." Ifunanya, with a gentle but firm heart, forgave him. Her prayers had not only revealed the truth but had strengthened their bond. Together, they began the process of rebuilding their home, their family, and their lives. Adise, meanwhile, was taken to the elders of the community. She was not punished in a harsh way, for the elders believed that her actions were born out of desperation, not malice. But she was taught lessons that would remain with her forever. She had sought wealth at the expense of others' happiness, and she had learned, in the most public and humbling way, that no amount of money could replace integrity, kindness, and love. In time, Adise returned to Lagos, but she was a changed woman. No longer consumed by greed, she found work with a community organization, helping young women who were desperate and ambitious to channel their energy positively. Her past mistakes became a powerful story she used to teach others. Chukwuma and Ifunanya's marriage grew stronger than ever. They learned to cherish each other, to communicate openly, and to never take life or love for granted. Their children thrived in a home filled with love, stability, and the understanding that power and wealth are meaningless without family and integrity. The city of Lagos, which had witnessed the dramatic downfall and redemption of Adise, also learned a lesson that day, that no amount of ambition, power, or supernatural shortcuts can replace honesty, patience, and faith. Years later, Adise would sit by the riverbank in Lagos, watching the sunset, reflecting on her past. She had seen the heights of greed, the depths of shame, and the power of redemption. She had learned that true wealth was not measured by money or status, but by the love one nurtures, the truth one upholds, and the courage to change. One afternoon, a young girl approached her. She reminded Adise of herself, a young, desperate girl, dreaming of wealth and status. Adise smiled gently. "The path you choose will define your life," she said softly. "Do not take shortcuts that harm others. Build your dreams with honesty, patience, and courage. That is the true way to live well." The girl nodded, eyes wide, and walked away, carrying with her a lesson she would never forget. Adise watched her go, a sense of peace filling her heart for the first time in years. Chukwuma and Ifunanya, now older and wiser, often invited Adise to community events. She had become a symbol of transformation and redemption. The people of Lagos no longer whispered her name with fear or disdain, they spoke of her with respect, for she had turned her life around and was helping others do the same. And so, in the city that never slept, where ambition and greed often danced in the hearts of the young, the story of Adise, Chukwuma, and Ifunanya became a legend. A story that reminded everyone that wealth and power are fleeting, but love, integrity, and faith endure forever. The streets of Lagos continued to hum with life, children played, traders shouted their wares, and the sun set beautifully over the city. But somewhere, in the quiet moments between the chaos, the lessons of the past lived on, whispered from one generation to the next. Do not let greed blind you. Do not let ambition destroy you. The greatest wealth is the life you live with honesty, courage, and love. And with that, peace returned not just to the mansion, not just to the lives of those involved, but to the hearts of all who heard the tale. For in the end, everyone understood that the truest form of happiness comes not from what you take, but from what you give, and from the courage to make things right when you have strayed. And Lagos, with its never-ending energy, carried this story like a gentle reminder that even amidst chaos, justice, love, and redemption always find a way to prevail. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we love hearing from you. And stay tuned for the next chapter of our incredible story.